We're good to go. All right. Welcome everyone to the Economic Development Committee meeting for Tuesday, September the 26th, 2023. Wood City Hall. A call to order and a roll call of members. Travis, are you doing the roll call?
Colleen is.
Oh,
I'm
Colleen.
here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
Oh, that's okay. Chair Ottenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Bartoni.
Here.
Councilmember Brost.
Here.
Councilmember Dodwell.
Here.
Councilmember Fleischer. Councilmember Garitano. Councilmember Jaxi. Councilmember Marshall.
Present. So we have 5 present, so we do have a quorum. All right, very good. Next will be approval of the minutes from our July 19th, 2023 meeting. Are there any questions regarding the minutes from that meeting? Seeing this, as there are no questions, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes by Councilmember Brost, second by Councilmember Dodwell. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from July 19th, 2023 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes approved. Thank you. Next is public comment. There's no one here present in the room, no one online. So next move to discussion items. For information and update on business changes and other business news. So for that, we will turn to Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Got a couple good items here since our meeting in July. We've had a nice little plethora of new business come through. Really excited to announce that Spirit Bank will be moving into the property located at 2675 West Glen Farms Drive. They're a small brick and mortar bank that specializes in small business loans. And this property was able to give them the ability to have liquid capital and be able to collect deposits, which has been beneficial for them, but also given a little financial spark for the business community here in Wildwood. They plan on closing officially on the property on October 25th, 2023, and they'll open shortly thereafter. One little notation is that currently Edwards Jones does lease out a small property within the actual property, a small space in the property, and that lease does carry on to 2026. That was one item, but they will be able to operate since it is separated from the overall building, so they shouldn't have an issue opening while they're open as well. So that building will be fully occupied after they fill in, so that's great to see, and we're really happy to see that, particularly on that space. On top of that, we did just find out that JB Wellness Cafe, located at 16962, will be opening 16962 Manchester Road. They're actually going to be taking over the property that was leased out by Fantastic Cakes and where to buy them. Fantastic Cakes is not closing, but they are moving out of that property into a place, I believe it's in Chesterfield, if I'm correct. Unfortunately, the lease was up and they needed to find a better rate for their lease. So at the end of the day, they're still open, they're still running, but unfortunately they're moving out of the city of Wildwood. But JB Wellness Cafe does specialize in health smoothies and just more of a health option for food, quick food. Another awesome update here. After working with Miss Baker for a little bit, she had a couple different ideas for a business here in Town Center, but she finally made one stick here. Magnolia Soap and Bath Company, located at 2448 Taylor Road. It's a business that's going to specialize in candles and, more of the delicacies that, help you relax. She plans to open before December 2023. She's got some permitting to get done and doing a couple things on the interior. But other than that, they're ready to go. Then another awesome update here. We got Capture Technologies LLC moving into 16759 Main Street, Suite 209. They're actually a software and technology company. So excited to see that they're coming in within the next month. And it's more of an office space to have a place for their workers to come in and share ideas. But we're happy to have them here in Wildwood. And Love to see more technologies companies come in, especially as we got the internet project and a couple other exciting updates throughout the city. Lastly, this business is actually officially opened. It was last week. Emily the Cars Photography LLC, located at 17185 New College Avenue, officially opened back on September 21st, 2023. We're actually working with Miss LaCars to coordinate a ribbon cutting ceremony. So excited to hear that and very happy for them to be open, and just excited to see that area of town center also getting filled up with some business. So great to hear all these openings, and now we kind of got to get into the business closure portion. Baldwin Sinclair Automotive, located at 16929 Manchester Road, did officially close about a month or two ago, month and a half. Kelly Motors actually owns the property now, and they do plan on having some kind of similar service than Baldwin Sinclair had, but at this time, there had been no movement on that, so the department can't give a proper update. And then obviously, as mentioned before, Fantastic Cakes and Where to Buy Them, they're not closing, but they are moving out of Wildwood. So JB Wellness Cafe and SSM Health Physical Therapy will be opening kind of together in that plaza next to CrossFit Wildwood. So excited to kind of see there's a little bit of a health and rehabilitation area over there. So it's kind of getting its own theme. Other business activity here, it is exciting to say Lucky Dog Central has almost completed their remodel, and they spoke with them actually at Celebrate Wildwood, and they're just touching up a few things, and they do plan to open before the end of the year. Obviously, they had planned to open a little bit earlier, but then after realizing that the permitting from the county, it takes a little bit longer than expected. So unfortunately, it's taken some more time, but they're very excited, and they have a really good look in there. I actually was over there and it looks great. So excited to hear that. One other update here real quick. Did want to note that this is just a little bit of a little birthday surprise here, but Three French Hens did celebrate their 20th anniversary back on September 12th. So congratulations to them. They've been a huge part of our community. So I just wanted to give them a special shout out. And lastly, we do have a couple ribbon cutting ceremonies up into the horizon. Anytime Fitness will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony actually tomorrow. They are located at 2450 Taylor Road. That ribbon cutting will take place from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. We expect the ribbon to be cut at 4 p.m. sharp. And Thomas Tyndall, who actually bought the company, he was just a trainer, and he kind of worked his way up, learned the ropes, and now he owns the business. So great to hear that, and great to keep supporting them and that reopening. And then also Trusses by Jess has tentatively scheduled their ribbon cutting ceremony for Friday, October 20th, 2023 from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. This is a tentative date, but we're pretty sure we're locked in on it. They are located at 16451 Village Plaza View Drive. And if you haven't been over there yet, they actually did a really, really nice job at rehabilitating that property and turning it into a really white and sparkly salon. So congratulations to them. Glad to see their success being successful and getting the staff they need. And then lastly, just a reminder that the Wildwood Business Forum, the last of the year, will take place on Thursday, October 12th, 2023 from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. It'll take place in this very room, and we're excited to have as many businesses as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Just to confirm a couple of dates and times. Spirit Bank is opening on what date?
They expect to close on the actual property on October 25th, but they said they would be opening within 2 weeks after finally closing. So I would say beginning of November or December.
All right.
Yep. But as of right now, just another heads up, both parties have agreed. It's just that's the actual closing date. That's
okay. Perfect. And then the opening date for JB Wellness is when?
JB Wellness is a little bit more far out. Right now, it's kind of they've gotten involved with Mr. Petruso, the owner of the property, but October 1st is the first date where the new lease could be signed based off the current contract. So at this time, I would probably say no time before probably November or December of this year.
Okay. And then Lucky Dog Central, what are the changes that they have made? What additional services are they offering?
Yes, so Lucky Dog Central, they will continue operating as a pet supply store specializing in kind of more organic and wholesome treats and toys for their dogs, all locally owned stuff. So that's good to hear, but they will now offer a kind of a cafe style. So you'll be able to come in, buy some treats, but also buy, traditional kind of breakfast items, baguettes, things like that, along with a nice cup of coffee. So they're really going to specialize in tailoring that coffee to their own brand. And hopefully they're trying to that's going to be the center focus of the business, is having a good coffee place to have a couple Triscuits and things like that to go with it, but really selling dog treats and dog toys along with the coffee.
All right, perfect. And then Tresses by Jess, her ribbon cutting would be when?
October 20th on Friday, October 20th. That is the tentative date. She said that is looking really good for her and her staff. It's from 3 to 4 p.m.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lee from anyone? Very good. Seeing none, then we will move on to an update on the temporary sign regulations. And for that, Mr. Lee, we are back to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. And in this case, we did discuss this at the last meeting and we were kind of in the middle of a loop. So we wanted to close that loop. And of course, if businesses are listening to this meeting, we'd like to kind of share this news with them. But it's kind of the reason why we put this on the agenda is to kind of showcase that input from the business community does really matter. If you come to the business forums or if you come to public meetings, do the public comment. Obviously, council members take that into consideration. And in this case, we were able to get a pretty cool win for the business community. So back in January, temporary signage and just signage in general was brought up in the business forum. And from there, we did a little bit of a report, as you all know here at the EDC. And we realized that our temporary sign regulations were a little bit out of loop with some of our neighboring communities. So we did kind of take a look at that and passed it over with recommendation to review changes to the PNC. That process started on June 5th with their public hearing. And from there, they actually made a unanimous action to change the temporary sign regulations just a little bit to be a little bit more accommodating for the seasons and also to new business. In this case, the council did take final action on this on the ordinance approving these changes on September 11th, 2023. For reference, if a business would like to look at the ordinance, it's bill number 2820. They are now in effect. So just to give you an update on what changed, real quickly, we'll read this, but no temporary banner may be in place for more than 15 consecutive days versus the original 5 over an allowable 60-day period, which it used to be 30, for a total time upon the same property. They cannot be, no banners can be displayed for the same property more than 4 times per calendar year. And that's because it aligns with the seasons and generally just the quarters as well. And it used to be 6. And then it's at an interval of no less than 30 days in between. So we are allowing more time for them to be out. So a little bit more time in between to make sure they're utilizing for the right purpose. And that used to be 7 days in between. So overall, I believe that these changes, the department believes that these changes will help benefit new businesses, but also businesses that are trying to promote special promotions. We got Halloween coming up, Christmas coming up. If there is something special, all they got to do is give the planning department a call and get a quick zoning authorization, and they can go ahead and put up a temporary banner. The department's available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lee regarding the temporary signs? Very good. Then let's move on to the next item, which is the hiring of an economic development / communications manager. And Mr. Lee, you are on again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today I did want to mention, as much as I love doing the economic development communications role, and I will continue to do said role as well. I do believe that more time and effort as moving into the city administrator role has obviously, taken up time. You got other things coming up across the plate. I want to make sure that our businesses are still getting the same TLC that I was giving them in my previous role. And I do notice that obviously with the, the amount of changes we're going through in general and just the developments that are coming in, there's a lot of time that needs to be shifted. So I do believe it could be pertinent to hire a new economic development communications manager. And another key reason why to hire this individual is for the communications factor. I believe it would be very, the city would be very fortunate and benefit from having an individual that's dedicated not only to business, but to getting the message out for all the projects that we have going on in the city. We have a ton of different things going on here. We got internet projects from Spectrum, but also we have an AT&T project that's occurring right now. We also have deer management coming up. We have the trash transition. We have a ton of great developments. We have some developments coming in here along with Village Green, and it's pertinent to not only get that out, through word of mouth and through reports to the council and the committees, but it's also important to get it out in our social e-newsletter and our website and keep that updated and fresh. That's the best way our residents can digest the information. And we did the citizen survey last year, and we actually saw that a lot of residents get their information from social media, our e-newsletter and website, the website and social media specifically. So having just consistent updates and also having a social media schedule being presented to the city administrator, that's going to be a very pertinent portion of the job, is going to be, presenting each week what is going to go out to the residents on a day-to-day basis. So there would never be a day that really goes by without having a good social media post to hit home a point and make sure we're getting the message across. I think that overall, our business community will obviously appreciate a little bit more time and effort, and doesn't mean I won't be talking with them and helping them through their processes, but get a little bit more of that one-on-one time. And then the communications portion, though, I think is even more paramount at this junction right now, because we have so much going on and we want to make sure that we're clear, transparent, and concise with our residents. So at this time, I do think it should be a pertinent goal of the city council and the city to bring on someone to take on the role to specifically focus in on communications and economic development. But happy to answer any questions this time.
How do you see this position differing possibly from when you were in the position? Do you see any changes to the job description?
Yes, and the job description has changed a little bit. You'll notice there is a draft of the job posting with the little bit more of the specifics, a little bit basic, but I would say the main focus would be having a more concise and more tailored role towards communications. I think the economic development portion of the role could stay pretty similar. I think visiting with businesses, being the point of contact for a business, reaching out to the city, working with the planning department, all were great assets, but having someone that, comes from a communication or just a development background that is used to updating a website or used to running ads or used to managing content is really a key. But taking pretty complex messaging, which you sometimes see with our bills and ordinances because they have to be written legally, and transferring that into a very simplistic language, I think that is an art form. And at the end of the day, we got to find a person that has the experience to be able to consistently provide clear and concise explanations to our residents through the channels we have available, but also someone that is in the loop in that industry and actually is passionate about communications. So they could also provide information on updated technology. Something that the department has been looking into is potentially having some kind of mobile text alert, like an Amber Alert. We've been reached out to by a lot of vendors that have wanted to try to do this, but there's a couple different avenues that people are getting information out to their residents with nowadays, and I think it would be pertinent to have someone kind of on the clock looking at those items, but also utilizing them, getting that message out. So I would say, if anything would change, it would be a bigger focus and a more what's the word for it? A more hardline approach to the communication piece of having here's the schedule each week, here's what you're updating, and just having a little bit more structure on the communication piece.
So one topic for discussion that's come up from time to time over the years has been coming up with a more simplified, user-friendly city website. How would this individual get involved with that?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So right now we do, with our current website, we work with Civic Plus for the website, and we do have a free web redesign included in our subscription. So over a certain amount of years, we get a redesign. So one of the first tasks that this individual would be tasked with would be implementing that redesign. So that would be just upgrading. It wouldn't be necessarily a complete overhaul of our systems and our website, but it would just be cleaning it up, making it look like it's back into the 21st century, but also finding stuff that's not record retention that you have to keep on there and getting rid of it. Because what we've noticed is the back end has a lot of information on it from 2015, 2010. It's tough to track all of it down and just clean it up every single day. So having a person to keep an eye on it and keep a temperature check, I think will help. Also, the functionality of the website. So make it faster, make it easier to use on the back end, which is really critical when you're putting together an e-newsletter or putting together an agenda, which right now it does take some time to load. So yeah, that would be the main piece.
Okay. So I know some of the other committee members. Councilmember Dugwell.
I just had a question
Yep.
on the one topic that he was just speaking of.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that we do put on the to-do list removing old data that we don't need on a routine basis anymore and archiving it somehow. Because when anybody does a search on our website, you get things from 2015, 2012 at the top of the list, and I'm like, okay, there's tools that can fix this. So I just want to make sure that we have somebody who is somewhat skilled or able to learn quickly how to clean up that part of the website, because I think that's the biggest frustration for our user base is they go to look for something and they've got to fish through pages and pages until they find something current.
Yes, so I couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah,
Sorry.
search, no, that's very pertinent, searchability of the website to find information.
Well, no, and I appreciate that, Councilmember Dodwell. That is one of the main concerns, and we've brought that up to Civic Plus on numerous occasions because it is, I mean, if you type in, whatever it might be, it could be trash. It brings up something that came up back a different transition. So
Yeah.
obviously deleting when we can or archiving and storing it, we do have online storage capabilities. So taking the information that's needed and taking it out. But the redesign, I wanted to actually add this, I forgot this piece, but the redesign would be a step to, and cleaning up the website would be two different items. And if the redesign didn't necessarily provide the results we're looking for, that individual would then be tasked to look at other options. So that's not out of the bag either. It's just, I think that with the free redesign that we have at our disposal, I think it's to utilize that option, see if it can fix some of the bugs. And if we still have issues, we can face that at that time. But the main thing is it is Civic Plus does provide a platform for, they work with a lot of different municipal governments. It's built for municipal governments, so it's a little bit easy to edit and add agendas. But the one thing is creating pages that are fluid and they move well. That's what I'm going to be looking for on a new redesign is how do those pages look? Do they look as boxy as they do right now? Or if you go to a newer website that's been designed in the last 2 years, you'll notice that, you really don't see as much, strict hard boxing that I know it's kind of getting into the weird terminology of it, but it's not as fluid as it could be. So we're hoping that would solve the issue along with cleaning it up. And then we could see some functionality improvements, but also user improvements as well. I mean, I think the website is kind of the face of the city. It's a great way for people to get info. And as we get internet out to our rural residents too, I think more and more people are going to start utilizing it. We've gotten a ton of new followers on Instagram and Facebook over the last month or so. It's been quite a few actually. Travis can speak to that, but so that's, we have these means. So we just want to make sure we're presenting the city in the best light. So having someone to monitor it and consistently update so it's fresh information, I think is key. And that's going to be part of just our weekly department head meetings, having that person pull out that information from each department, what needs to be said to the residents this week and having them be PR focused.
All right, super. Thank you. Councilmember Bartoni, you've had your hand up for a couple of minutes. Sorry, we kept you waiting.
Well, no problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Thomas, this question for you is two-part. One, when do you actually hope to have this position posted and filled ideally? But then also, since you've done this job and since this person is going to be reporting to you, do you think the job is more communications or more economic development? And the only reason I ask is once the job is posted, we want to draw the right candidate. Should it read communications / economic development or economic development / communication? And I trust your answer on it. I just want to make sure we're drawing the right person. And what hat will this person wear for the most part?
Thank you, Councilmember Bartoni. And I think that's a great idea. Because what I was going to mention is that if we're looking at the needs of the city right now, and obviously economic businesses are always going to be needed. So we're not saying that that's going second. But what I see as a very important piece here is that communications will evidently lead to economic development, because if you can portray a nice message to the business community outside of Wildwood, you're going to have a better shot at bringing them in. So the key here is, I think maybe changing it to communications economic development manager could be astute, because that's what we really need here at City Hall. I think we need someone that is just constantly on top of communications. And the goal would be, just for a timeline's sake, would to be have this job posting out, most likely before beginning of October, and hopefully have them hired before the end of the year. There has been budget, a portion for this individual, whoever it may be. And I think the background we'd really be looking for is someone that has worked in a public relations firm and potentially has worked with businesses or local municipalities in the past. We want someone that's front facing and that can talk with businesses and work with them through their issues. So it's really going to be someone that's personable, but also has the technical background to be able to update a website, write good content that's engaging. So I actually will take that into advisement about the communications, economic development, switcheroo, because I personally believe that that is the main thing right now, and it's getting the communications up to date and getting it as a main focus and showing it as a priority. So thank you for sharing that.
Councilmember Dodwell.
Well, and to tie into what Don just indicated, I think that was one of the major missing pieces in the Spectrum move, in the trash hauling move, is not having communications with our community. Had we told people what was going on as soon as we knew it, we would have had a lot less headache coming into all the staff here at City Hall and all of us council members. So I think at this juncture for the city, having a good communicator is a higher priority, especially since the economy is a little waning right now on things. It's going to be tough for us to get anybody to move their business unless they want to. So
Yes.
if we have a good communicator, they'll be able to talk to them and say, why should I come here? Yeah. Just my comment.
Councilmember Marshall.
I was just gonna ditto the same thing. I think we need the communications desperately. And it would take a lot of the work off a lot of the other people who that's not their forte. So getting somebody in that position, I think would just make a tremendous difference on the workload for all the other people that are trying to do different pieces. That somebody with that sort of given task, I think would be a good direction at the right time.
Thank you, Councilmember Marshall. And one of the pieces of intent here is that, as mentioned, I think I would like to, obviously keep, still wearing an economic development hat. If a business reaches out, I'm definitely going to pick up the phone. It's an aspiration to try to bring as many businesses here as possible. That being said, with the economy how it is right now, and with the, the projects coming in, I really like to hit home that if we can effectively communicate what Wildwood is, as we talk about like live, work, play, all that, our lifestyle, I think that in itself will help attract businesses. And, with communications, you're hoping with any person you would hire for a communications role, that individual would also be able to effectively communicate to people as well. So definitely think communications, and I'm glad the committee seems to agree on that part, that communications does seem to be a top priority right now.
Well, we've also got you to potentially fall back on, and I would hope that while the city administrator role doesn't directly involve itself with economic development only, it is incumbent upon you in the locations and groups that you talk to, individuals that you communicate with, to always have that at the forefront of how do we keep Wildwood a vibrant city. So
I couldn't agree more. And, at the end of the day, that is top priority too. When you're talking to somebody and it comes up like, hey, I got a business that's looking around, you're gonna unturn that stone. You're gonna bring it up. We have a town center. It's meant to be filled with business. So that's still gonna be, a major goal. This individual though, I would just say that, first and foremost, their first priority when they sit down will be, hey, we really need to do an audit of the website. Let us know what a social media schedule you would think would look like here for the city. And, luckily I have some experience in this department, so I think I'll be able to find a really good individual to fill this role.
So, I was getting my thoughts confused here. Go ahead.
just one last question.
No, that's all right.
Is that individual solely interviewed and hired by you or by the city administrator, or does it involve any communications with this group or any other staff in the city?
Technically, it is something that is hired by the city administrator. That being said, I am planning to honor, kind of the tradition of how I was hired, getting input from each department. So there was Rick, the Director of Public Works, Joe, who's Director of Planning, do have input. Obviously, the final say does sit with the city administrator for the actual approval, but having that, the main thing is in that interview, would start with a phone call interview that would be with our HR coordinator. And then obviously at that point, if you get that through that first screen, then we could have an in-person meeting where the individual would meet with the directors and myself to discuss, kind of test, if you will, how you would phrase different things, different projects, and kind of coming at you from a couple different angles. Planning and parks and public works, we all have different things that we're doing. So how can you effectively communicate each one of those items and make it look good? I think that's key component, and I think input from each department, because this person has to gel well too with each department and be able to get information from them and be able to work with them day by day to figure out what is the latest scoop, if you will, and get it out to our residents.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Lee on this topic? Right. Mr. Lee, what specific action do you need from this committee regarding this matter?
No action at this time, just for information.
All right, perfect. And then question for you, and this may be nitpicking a bit, but is the Iowa Economic Development Communications Manager, is that a formal title that would require a motion in order to change and put communications first?
No, that would not. Based off my recollection. So if the thing that would need approval would be if you took out one of the roles, because then you'd be changing the actual structure. But since you're keeping both titles technically in that same position, it would not need.
Okay, all right, thank you. Great. Next, we move along to items ready for action. Review of landing page for Live, Work, and Play marketing campaign. And once again, Mr. Lee, it's back to you.
I'm a broken record today, Mr. Chair. So today, to kind of give a little overview, we've been walking through kind of a ramp up of what this Live, Work, Play marketing campaign could be to help drive some economic development and also help improve the communication to potential business owners in the St. Louis region. From the meeting in July, it was tasked with the department to put together content. We've already looked at the ad proofs and what they would look like on LinkedIn and also Facebook. But we haven't really looked at where does this lead us? Where does the user go once they click on the actual page itself, the actual ad itself? And what the department has done today is provided you with a kind of a homepage that it will lead to after the user clicks on it.
Can we put that up here on the screen? On the agenda.
Yes, we can, Mr. Chair. A little bit long, but I was looking and tonight, and we'll bring it up here on the screen. It's the department's looking for feedback, what could be a little bit more catchy, and we'll walk through it each step of the way. Obviously, yep, here we go. So one of the main pieces here obviously is to get someone to provide their information so we can contact them about potential possibilities here in Wildwood. So the connect with us, I know this is just a Word document that's turned into a PDF, but once it's on the website, it will look a little bit differently formatted, but wanted to get the content approved first. If this individual would click on the connect with us link there, we want to make sure you have that on the front and the back end. If the individual wants to get right to it, want to give them that opportunity. But if they want to read more about Wildwood, you can have that. It's also at the bottom. But if they would click on that, it would have them go to a form where you would just simply put in your business name, your phone number, your email, if you want to be contacted by the city administrator, or in this case, in the future, the communications economic development manager, to discuss potential vacancies that are open, to discuss different possibilities for development, all of that good stuff. But after that, it gets into more of let's explain the benefits of Wildwood in our lifestyle here. And the department did its best to summarize it. It's a little bit long, but at the end of the day, if you're trying to sell a city to an individual, you really got to get into our assets. So I know we ended up liking this picture. So I think that would be astute to have it present on the page, kind of bring it all home, especially if that was part of the ad for connecting the two. But as you go through here, it's really kind of an article almost, if you will, of what Wildwood is and what assets it has with it. In here, it's got information on town center at the front, what is in town center, what is town center in general, some exciting developments that are coming soon. Talks about the village green, At that part as well, it also will have a link where if you go down there, Travis, where you would click there, that would get you to the site selection page, which currently has all our vacancies that individuals can rent out or buy. So the individual at that point could click there and go to a completely different site, but hopefully they're getting exposed to the places where they could rent. And then you get into the play side of it. I mean, really what Wildwood is, you want to sell what we really have. And what that is nature. I mean, we have parks, we have trails, we have great places to hike and just sit by the river a little bit and have, we have great natural space. So we get into that quite a bit. If you're looking at here, you'll see that pretty much all our parks are listed out. What we have as well as the, our different creeks we have, maybe we can cut that down a bit, but really I wanted to just, with all this information of under the Nature's Playground portion, really hit home that, wow, there is a lot of things to do outside in Wildwood. So if you're an outdoorsman, if you enjoy being outdoors, it's a good place to be. And then we hit home on, just some general, benefits of living in Wildwood. Obviously noting the median household income per the census data of $140,000 per year. That's obviously a big win there too. And also safety, the quality of life piece is huge. We are a very safe city, which could be a very good selling point to St. Louis region area residents. But then lastly, we get into the same item that we talked about before, which is just providing contact information. So at the end has the same link that gets you to that form that they would be at before, which would then allow that individual to put their information in. They would get a personal call from the city administrator or the economic development communications manager to explore that opportunity a little bit more and just see, hey, what you click for? Are you that interested? We're happy to talk about it. So I think that having it on top, both the top and the bottom, will help with engagement. But a real goal here is, and what we'll be able to tell, if we get quite a few people sign up just on that piece, that's one layer of success to be able to manage it on. But really, it's almost having to trust the system, because more exposure will lead to more eyeballs, but you can't force somebody to lease out of space. So I still am recommending two things here. We don't necessarily move forward with an agency to do this. We do something a little bit smaller in-house. And with this being tied in directly with a potential economic development communications manager, potentially waiting for that person to hop on board if we're actually planning to get that person as soon as possible. And then have that individual kind of be the point person to add not only insight, but also add in their, if they think there's things, some things on the landing page or some things on the ad should change, because that person will be hopefully a PR professional and will be able to look at this and be able to give the best advice possible. I mean, I think what we have here is the start of what we could be a pretty successful campaign based off my former experience.
Councilmember Dodwell.
You said you wanted to wait until you had your replacement hired. Is there no reason we couldn't at least place this information out on the current economic development page, so that if somebody happens to be tripping across us, they can see something that's a little bit more engaging and inviting than what's there currently?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Dodwell. Yes, we could publish this tomorrow. And I think that is actually,
There's a few typos, but
whoops.
that's okay.
Well, actually, I would like
Those
to.
you can't do tomorrow.
Yeah,
Wait another day or so for those.
so I might need just a
Just have-
little bit.
Have a copywriter read over it again. You'll be okay.
Okay, yes, but yes, we can get this published this week.
Yeah, I see no reason to start moving towards something that looks different and speaks to us a little bit more clearly.
Well, in that case, the department would be respectfully requesting tonight that we move forward with getting this on the website, this information on the website, moving forward with getting the form out there, and then holding off on the paid ad portion until we do hire the communications and economic development manager, which should happen before the end of 2023.
So would you like a motion from the committee? to be
Yes, if
approved
possible,
For
Mr.
that
Chair.
purpose? Okay, so would someone like to make that motion? Councilmember Brost, seconded by Councilmember Dodwell. Does everyone understand what the motion is based on what Mr. Lee just told us? Super. Then in that case, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I move us back, just a question.
Yes, Councilmember
I'm
Marshall.
sorry. I didn't
No,
wanna interrupt
good.
you.
You're good.
How will we measure the effectiveness on the website? So
So
we're gonna put it out there. It'd be interesting to know how effective that is versus a LinkedIn or a Facebook or something like
yeah,
that.
so we do have tools on the, thank you, Mr. Marshall. We do have tools on our websites through Civic Plus to track engagement. So we could actually track site visitors based off this page. So that could be provided. And that would be organic traffic. One thing that hasn't been as explored as much, but obviously was looked into on the back end was potential of if we really get some excitement with this page, we could look at alternative forms of advertising, specifically SEM, so search engine marketing and SEO. So just doing some little optimizations on the actual natural organic page itself, changing some of these words to make it more search worthy on Google. But also there is an opportunity where you can pay Google to make your page higher in the actual, when you type in places to open a business near me, even if the individual might be, on the western side of Franklin County, we would still pop up first because you're technically buying that space. You're always typically buying the first top three. So that would be another option if we do see some significant site traffic and we have success with this page. We could actually try to sell the page and really get the people out there to go to it. I mean, that's gonna be the overall goal anyway. So it does kind of open the door if we see some success with just natural organic traffic. If there's ways to enhance that on the back end, we'll be all for it.
Great, thank you.
So what actually will bring someone to that landing page? What would they have to search for in order to get to that landing page?
So right now, typically how it is hosted on Google, if people type in on the website, if they type in, different City of Wildwood items, you're going to get our general City of Wildwood page. What could be helpful here is, and what you could do is if you, I'd have to actually look at that a little bit differently because the way we have it coded, but we run it all under one banner, cityofwildwood.com, the homepage, because we want to make sure that it's search engine optimization. So it makes sure anything you type in that's related to Wildwood or, either Wildwood, Florida, Wildwood, New Jersey, Wildwood, Missouri, wherever it is, it still comes up. So we usually house everything under Wildwood. In this case, separating this one out as its own landing page might actually be a problem. So I'll have to look into that further because it is all housed under cityofwildwood.com and then it has a slash with the additional URL. But how we could do it is really just getting out the actual URL itself and creating a spotlight on the website. So it's a initial piece right when you get on there where you don't have to go to the economic development tab. What I plan to do is go on to the website. And when you would scroll over to economic development, the first thing would say, start your journey or something provocative, but it would be right there. They click on it, you'd get to this page.
Perfect. Councilmember Dodwell.
I mean, what bothers me is looking at the homepage and you see the little squares with agendas and minutes, notify me, permits and applications, all of those things, but there's nothing talking about opening a business that's on that homepage. And if we could figure out some way to have some kind of a link on this homepage so that if somebody types in Wildwood, they can immediately find that. I don't know if I guess we've got a limit on the number of these buttons that we can have on that one row.
Councilmember Dodwell, we do have a limit, but yes, so those, that could be reformatted. We could add something there, like start a business or something along those lines. That can be formatted. It's really just, the only thing I had, the only thing we could hit a wall on is the actual landing page itself. When you look up on Google, that gets a little bit more testy just because it's still going to be cityofwildwood.com / start your journey or whatever it could be. It's going to hit that wall. You're going to get the Wildwood website first. So I think you're right. What we could do is just make it a eye appealing button on the actual homepage to get some eye traffic. Honestly, I think that's probably our best bet without opening up a whole new URL. I think that, but I will also attest that other cities have done that in the past too, if they've really focused in and honed in on an economic development effort. Some cities do have actual sites dedicated just to economic development.
Well, and that may be something that we could do once we have our new communications / economic development manager in play. And have someone who can more adeptly create an actual image and a set of documents and information that's fed into that particular part of the site, more than you've had time to do.
I think that'd be a great piece. And I honestly, I think that, if done well, it could be very beneficial. Because it kind of does show and a good example, and it's been brought up in the committee before, but just for reference, you all can take a look at it. What I would say is a decent success story. I believe it's O'Fallon, Illinois, that has a pretty cool website. Their website's pretty nice.
Who's
It's
this?
O'Fallon, Illinois, but it was a marketing firm helped them out throughout each step of that process. So that was not done internally. That was done by an external source. So don't think that they just threw that one together.
I think I know who did it too.
It was Atomic Dust.
Okay.
They actually were one of the firms we discussed with, and
Mhm.
they actually showed me that, and it was very interesting. And they did, O'Fallon had a multi-pronged approach to economic development as a entire program, but they also devoted it was not a cheap campaign. Let's just say that they $100,000 worth of spending on that. So they are a pretty big city too. So looking at it, it makes sense, but separating, I would maybe caution though, separating the website, because we get so much traffic and at search engine optimization, when you first, unless you would pay for it, you would have an issue there if you have just an economic development page, its own website, that would need a lot of effort to get it to the top of Google. Because right now, when you type in Wildwood, you're getting our actual website, which is great, or you're getting other Wildwood, New Jersey or Florida specifically. But I think overall, maybe adding a nice fun button to the website is going to be a key to just driving more traffic.
There's a couple questions for you regarding this landing page. So how extensive will the information that people can access there be? In other words, if somebody comes into that landing page, can they find where there's good mountain biking trails? Can they find where there's good hiking opportunities? That sort of thing.
So right now, thank you, Chair Ottenberg. Right now, it would be obviously the text that's provided tonight would be on that page, and we could add links to our parks and trails and the items that are currently under the Parks Department. So I mean, we could easily have links there, and it kind of organically occurs there is when you're listing out our parks, we could just say for more information, click here. But I would say once we get to a point where we're doing paid advertising to direct people to this page, I definitely think we should be directing people potentially to the open inventory we have in Wildwood. But if we start directing them to the parks, obviously our parks app too, we could add that to it. That'd be great. But the parks department, or we direct them to, learn more about Bluffview, wherever it might be, that could take their eye off the ball here. Instead, we really want them to fill out that form because, if they're looking at the website, that's great. But I think the main goal here is if we can get them on the phone and actually speak with them and say, hey, what are your interests? What are your aspirations? What business are you in? Then you can actually make the determination, oh, this spot makes sense for you. Versus if you kind of get off the trail a little bit and they don't provide that information, then in that case, you might have it in their mind, but they could forget. You really want to make sure we can actually call them or have some kind of point of contact.
I guess what I'm thinking of is someone that's considering filling out that form. What additional information can we offer him to make him want to fill out that form? Besides just that, this may be an attractive place for him to locate his business. He may be a business owner that maybe likes running, so our trails may appeal to him. Or again, going back to something that's near and dear to my heart, he may be a cyclist and he's wondering, okay, is this a good place for me to go out and ride my bike? Or, are there park activities for my young family?
So in that case, Mr. Chair,
If that makes sense.
yes, that does make sense. And we do list out the parks, but it's not as I wouldn't say it's as tailored. Would it almost be beneficial then on the committee's behalf to have some kind of listing out of if these are your hobbies, you say cycling, hiking, whatever it is, fill in the blank. Here's how Wildwood fits your needs. Would you want to maybe add something like that? Because right now we do have information on each of our trails. We have information, but it's really just this park was opened at X date and it's however long and it's located here, the kind of the basic information. It's not saying it's not kind of sold, if you will. The pristine landscape that shapes this road is perfect for your the tread on your tires, kind of the bicycle kind of. Does that make sense?
It does. I guess I'm going back to the theme, which is live, work, play. So right now, it seems like it's somewhat oriented towards attracting businesses. And I guess I'm wondering, can we broaden the use of this to also attract people to locate here? In other words, somebody may be moving to the St. Louis area because they got a job downtown at Wells Fargo, and they're wondering where they should locate their family. They're wondering, okay, why should I pick Wildwood versus Chesterfield versus Maryland Heights?
That makes a lot of
Would
sense.
that be on the just basic information page for Wildwood itself and not under an economic development page?
I would think if economic development is what we're trying to do, we need to be talking about the reasons you'd want to move a business here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not necessarily, it'd be a great place to live, but I run a lot of businesses where I didn't live in that same area. But I think part of what we'd want to do would be able to sell the fact that the traffic, the lack of traffic. Now, the other downside is the lack of busing. If you need workers and they're not going to be senior level people, this is not a good place for them to be because the bus transportation isn't as good as you would like. But I would think knowing what type of business they have, and are they looking for a 20-person office? Or are they looking for a 5-person office? Are they looking for 40 employees? I mean, something that if you're going to move your business there, it's great, you want to live there, but you're going to have to, depending on the type of business, you'd want to make sure your employees didn't have to come from the city out here in order to do that. One of the best games I saw up in Connecticut, I think it was sitting on the parkway and looking over the sign that said, if your office was here, you'd already be at work. Thinking, man, going into the city, that's a good idea. But I mean, you kind of have to look at, when you look at all the traffic sitting out here, do any of those people, are they decision makers that could control moving their office remotely or moving it out here? Unfortunately, the cost of the housing is extremely high that, when you can't get your firemen and your police can't afford to live in the city, it makes it extremely difficult. So I don't know. I just think that I agree that it's a great place to live, but I think if you're looking for businesses, we need to be able to let them know we have high-speed internet, parking, the other downside, and maybe here we'll have more restaurants and stuff. But, I think that the businesses, if you're trying to target them, we kind of have to look at why would you want to bring your business out here? You don't have a city tax. I mean, there's things that are good, but.
So I think Councilmember Marshall and Councilmember Dodwell addressed my concerns, and I would agree with them that the focus should stay on what we can do to attract a business to the community, because as Councilmember Dodwell said, things like outdoor activities and so on are already being addressed on our current website.
And that last, I'm going to interrupt one more time. I'm sorry. That last sentence where you say, before nature's playground, where you say we have a range of available commercial spaces perfectly suited for your venture. Put that up on that very first paragraph. It's all happening here in Wildwood. Leave it where it's at, so you repeat it again, but put it up there at the top. We invite you to explore our city and see what we can build together. And then we have a range of available commercial spaces perfectly suited for you. Go look for them now before they even have to get down into the more
Nitty-gritty.
detailed kinds of things.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Councilmember Dodwell. I think that's a great idea, and it kind of falls in line with the kind of the form being at the top and bottom too. Get it if they want to take the shortcut, that's fine too. So that is a great idea, and I did want to answer real quick, and I just wanted to get feedback on this because I thought it was kind of interesting what Mr. Marshall had said about identifying, the realities of owning a business in Wildwood. Would it maybe be beneficial to put together on this landing page or have some kind of info sheet that would say, hey, here is, the ideal business profile for a business in Wildwood. If you have, 10 to 15, obviously we'd have to determine some items here, but you have 10 to 15 employees, you don't need busing, those type of things. We be brutally honest. I think some business owners might, it could be viewed two ways. It could be viewed as very positive, like you're being honest and you're trying to attract the right kind of business can flourish here. That being said, some people might look at it as, the city's being picky or, something along those lines of like, hey, they don't think my business is good enough. I have 50 employees.
Well, yeah, I'd be a little concerned about us putting any kind of limitation on anyone because it'd be great to have a 50 to 100 employee business here in town center 5 days a week, hitting all of the retail and eating establishments here in town to keep them in business. So I don't want to tell somebody that, no, you can't put 150, 200 people, 1,000 people in here if you like the area.
So I think Councilmember Marshall hit on something though, that's important is maybe instead of sort of defining what type of business we are looking for, include those things that would make this appealing to someone. For example, we don't
That's a good
have a
idea.
city sales tax, et cetera.
Yeah.
We've got, I think, relatively high median income in this city.
Yes.
But you get a high cost of living and rental is sky high.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's not a place to bring a lot of entry level workers or even middle managers. So I mean, I just think that doesn't mean that you can't get those people from close by, Ellisville, Eureka, people like that.
Yeah.
But I just think I've done a lot of site selection stuff for companies. And the first thing they start out is, what's the average pay you're going to pay these people and how far are they driving to work? Because being able to hire those people and give them comparable wages has a whole different issue based on where you're going to move your offices, and unfortunately, sometimes you move your office and you lose 3/4 of the staff because they're just not going to do it. But I would kind of position it as a business.
I think we've got an advantage though in the fact that we've got Pacific, Eureka, further south, further west, that people are already driving all the way into the city to get to a job. If we could cut out an additional 20, 25 miles on their drive time each day.
Just look how many are backed up in Ellisville waiting to go up Clarkson Road or to go
Yeah.
forward. I mean, that's why some way, and I know we can't put signs out there, but those buildings, the Commons building or the building up there where the bank used to be and the old city hall stuff. I mean, they had 80, 90 people working in there and they ended up going down to the valley and that shut down all the restaurants. So I mean, it's kind of but those were not high wage jobs. They were just a lot of workers,
so there's, I guess, two aspects of this to look at. One is in an ideal world, we would love it if a business located here and then all of the workers at that business located here as well. But
That never happened.
that's not going to happen. So if, to Mr. Marshall's point, cost of living here may be prohibitive to some workers. But as Councilmember Dodwell mentioned, we have communities surrounding us where the cost of housing is lower. Councilmember Roast, I think you had your hand up a couple minutes ago.
I think that we need to sort of like, when I had my business, I had my target customer. I need to define that, and we're not gonna get a 50-person company. That's gonna be the exception, and we don't want to waste our time looking for it, because it's not gonna happen. And then, the other thing that, in the recent P and Z, I was disappointed, but when it gets down to it, we have a dead end in our main street. We're a dead end. We are a dead end. And we're doing everything we can possible to keep our city being a dead end. Now, let's start, I think internet is great that we're getting. We need to develop Wildwood, and it will give more housing opportunities. But I mean, I'm still a little bit in shock because it goes against the town center update. But it's like,
What goes against the town center update? I'm not following.
Well, the proposals that, go in front of P and Z, I mean, the density is pretty much aligning with what people spent 2 years talking about. But, they continue to get shut down. It's like, oh my gosh, we might cut down a tree. Like, don't anybody
So
shoot.
what happened to 3 acres was town center?
Well, the
Never
3
was.
acres, it's not doing anything there. This is just a town center. This is what, we have a town center. And we need to continue to develop that town center, which is going to bring in people. There's gonna be professional people. A lot of those people are gonna work from home. And I think our target is more of a professional environment with probably offices of less than 10 people.
Totally agree.
And if you're gonna say, well, let's bring the people from Eureka here, well, we're also competing against office space in Eureka. So, and if I'm operating, and again, when I operated my business, Chesterfield Valley was great. It was centrally located for my customers and for my workers. And Wildwood would have been more difficult, would have been easier for me, but it would have been more difficult for my
Absolutely.
customers and employees. But I do think that a big key with our economic development is generating is really sort of like working the vision the city has. This hasn't changed, but we're just not making progress with it. We have, big empty spots on both sides of City Hall. And those are, I don't know, I think we all were a little surprised that our population in the census didn't change. And all these little businesses coming in, we want them to get bigger and, and develop. And if there's a lot of professionals that work from home now, and they will go out to lunch and they will dinner and all that. And getting this area here to really flow as it's been designed to do. But, and I'm just a little disappointed with planning and zoning. I mean, it's sort of like, the extension of Main Street and the development of Crestview, the Village Green, the projects proposed there, and then continuing out to the reserve. I don't want to say I'm pro-development, but I'm pro-Wildwood. And I think it's very critical for the economic development of our city. So I think it goes hand in hand, just like it does with internet. The realtor community, I bet is already feeling that, hey, they've got internet now. Because they wouldn't recommend somebody to go out where you're going to be, using your cell phone as a hotspot and you want to work from home.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt, but just to add a little bit of facts. So facts of that is that, your home actually gains $30,000 to $60,000 in value when you're in a rural area and you get high-speed fiber internet. So it's a huge selling point too, to potential remote workers that maybe higher ups, or maybe they have a small business, but everyone works remote. They want to live out on some land, but they also want to have that good internet. But I will echo the sentiment that the Main Street extension is, I think, very critical. Adding some more bodies to the city, I think, has been one of the things that the business community has told me quite often that, they want to see this extended. They want to see it connected to Etherton. And overall, I think that the Greenberg development mixed in with some development over there with the Village Green, it is a vision. And I think end of the day, it very important to get the extension done. I'll echo the sentence.
Yeah, so. But, with respect to, I think we need to target our customer and make sure whatever advertising we do is reaching, at least our intent is to reach that. I mean, if we advertise in the Business Journal for industrial, manufacturing, which I know we wouldn't, obviously, there's not much benefit. It would be, they'd all go to Chesterfield Valley for lunch anyway, because they'll all be right next to Chesterfield. But, the engineers, the attorneys, just various types of professionals.
Medical offices, a lot of those are.
Professional businesses with staffing of 10 people or less roughly. is what
I
you're
think
saying.
so.
Yeah.
And I just don't, because if we start, even if you look at you mentioned Wells Fargo. I mean, I think they've got a location off Highway 40. If there's 20, 30, 40 people in that office, and maybe there's even more. I think even locating them in Wildwood, I think they're more isolated from their customers and their employee base. Which that's not a negative for Wildwood, it's just more of who we are. The reason we had a problem with internet is because density's low. Well, I actually like the fact density's low. Where I live, we don't, I don't live in town center. So that's a plus. And now it's even better because we've got the internet. And I think our marketing, I think we just need to consciously look at, and if we look at the new businesses, we see that. I mean, we see that. So that's where we're having some success. But I just think that we all need to be, I think even the tour, which I couldn't make it, of the downtown area and looking at making some improvements. I mean, it's like, you bring somebody to town, you don't want to see trash on the side of the road. You want it to look nice, and the comments, I think, are, there's, we're getting older. It's going to require maintenance. But I just think that we need to, the more vibrant I think the town center area is, I think the more vibrant our business community will be. And
It's the cart before the horse, the yin and yang of all of this is you want it to be vibrant here, but yet, what we had on Saturday was amazing with everything that was going on down here. And how do you replicate that not to that extent, but on a daily basis where you have businesses that can keep a number of people here to make it successful to run a retail business and run this business or that business.
well, whether you
How did
want to call
Clayton
it.
do it? Clayton used to be this little quiet little out west town. And I don't know that we want to become what Clayton is today, but somehow they were able to, over the years, figure out how do we make ourselves appealing to others.
It does, and studies do show the proximity to the interstate is gonna be your big key. They have that,
We got 6 miles either way to get to an interstate.
the 15 minutes to get there, 15 to 20 minutes depending on traffic, but that is, I think, the biggest impediment, but obviously we're not gonna blow Highway 70 or 40 or somewhere to redirect it around here, but
But by the same token, we have Chesterfield that has increased in population in the last 35, 40 years exponentially. Eureka, and that whole 44 corridor that has expanded in their size exponentially. So if we can, I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice today. I think the goldenrod is just hitting me bad. If somehow we can let those people who are living in those corridors know what they could come do here and not have to drive either all the way downtown.
But they need a place to live.
Yeah,
Well,
they
and
live-
there
We
it
say
is nice.
no,
Yeah,
then they don't have a place
I
to
mean,
live.
there's a lot of two-family incomes that not everyone has to drive down to the city if they can find other jobs out here. So I think it's a combination, but
Yeah.
I really do believe you have somebody doing the marketing, start looking at what spaces you have and then target those professional organizations.
Mhm, mhm.
When you get a graduating class out of Logan, you get another corner,
Yeah, mhm.
but part of that is to really look at where are those opportunities and, what their customers are like. My daughter's a chiropractor. She couldn't be out here because she has to be on a bus route because they're all car injuries. But she does really well down in the city. But that's the kind of customers that she has. Nobody would drive to her office because their car has already been totaled. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, there's more than one right answer.
Oh,
And you may go down a few paths and with varying success, but that's normal. You do that.
And then the commercial real estate, people, they know their business too. You know, and they'll tell you that if it's a business that's looking for retail business, we're at the end of the road. You know, you can go down 2 miles in Ellisville and double the population base. Go 2 miles that way and there is no population base. So, you know, that's just the challenge. We're half the town center.
And I think that ties into it well too, is how you sell it as well, is that, you know, and I hate to say this, but whenever you're at town center, to make it more about a radius around town center, because we technically, if we can't attract them, we have access to those Ellisville residents too. I know our residents go there for all their, you know, fast food and stuff like that. So what are we, you know, identifying, what are we gonna be to get those Ellisville people to make the left on Clarkson, make the right on Clarkson and come down to see us? I think that's a key. That's like a critical junction point, I think, where individuals just, they don't go past Clarkson, you know, they're just, you know, and maybe it is something we specialize more in. We do have tons of medical offices. We have attorneys' offices out here. We do pretty well with them, and they usually have less than 10, you know, individuals. And at the end of the day, I mean, maybe those have been successful. If you look at the businesses that have survived and done well, they do.
Very good. Good discussion. Unless there's anything more on this subject, we'll move along to the holiday tree lighting ceremony. Pardon?
Let's just get this up and on the website. ASAP.
I think we approved the motion, so you have your marching orders.
And then if you don't mind, showing me the typos after this.
I haven't read it that closely.
Oh, I really would have known.
You got a few more minutes. Go ahead, Kate.
Tom, my wife's very good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once it's done, she'll still find
Yes.
it. But don't worry, nobody else will see it, but she will see it.
No,
Yeah, I missed stuff
I
too.
want to make sure I don't put it on the website with 2
Just have
commas
a
or
couple of
something.
people.
You were just doing that to see if Katie would notice.
Make a game out of
That's
it.
exactly.
Have some folks on staff and say, hey, I'll give you, you get a free lunch at McDonald's or something. You can find.
There's 3 mistakes.
Three
in there, find it.
mistakes. And whoever can get them to me first.
All right, holiday tree lighting ceremony.
Yes, so change of topics here a little bit. This was not included in the typical updates, but did want to cover it. And then obviously it does tie into the holiday tree lighting ceremony. So it has come to the department's attention that the Wildwood Business Association seems to be on a trajectory, from all that has been heard, to administratively dissolve by the end of the year. Unfortunately, that seems to be the direction they're going, and at this time, no one's really going to pick up the pieces to carry it forward from what we've heard. And where that comes in, really, you know, it's a huge impact. And obviously, membership engagement had been down since COVID. That was a big detriment. Membership was at its highest in 2019. Then COVID did hit. So it just never really recollected itself. And, you know, we hope that it can continue, but at this time, you know, we don't think it will. So that being said, we do have kind of an elephant in the room of what the WBA technically hosted, and what do we want to do with it? It's the holiday tree lighting ceremony. The city has funded that event for the past 4 years, with the WBA putting their name on it, which they did help, or they were the fundamental organizers. They reached out to the business community. They were the ones that actually got everyone engaged in the event. So at this time, and it typically costs around $10,000 to throw this event, this would be getting a large tree. And last year we spent, it was around $7,100. And we got a tree that some individuals had commented where it was not elaborate, you know, extravagant enough. So it's kind of a, do we want to get in the pool here? If we're going to do it, I think we need a little bit of a nicer tree, or maybe we look into what a permanent tree might look like. I know we have a nice tree we put in town in the middle of City Hall here, but tonight we're pretty much looking at, do we want to take this on as a city, as an event? We have a ton of attendance there.
last year, it was a good probably 2,000 people that came out. It was a very popular event. Santa sits in the side of Anthology. We got carolers going. We could probably get them mic'd up, would probably help a little bit. That was the one thing I would note from last year. Hot cocoa flowing, getting the business community out. It's kind of a checkpoint, Charlie, because we go quiet a little bit in the winter on our events, which we do because it's cold. But that time of the year, I think it's special personally, and I think it kind of sets the festive charm, and we do decorate town center. So I think there is some, having an event go with all those decorations. I think it ties it well, and I think it does engage the business community. So department tonight, and this will also be presented at the Planning and Parks Committee, is recommending that we do move forward with the event without the WBA, unfortunately. And as we go forward, looking at ways potentially to get businesses to donate and maybe contribute to this, to make it a little bit more special. But, as a city-run event, I think it'll be, even more popular, quite honestly, with the organization, with the city, because we did have a very hands-off approach, because since we were providing all the financial backing for that event, we made sure that, WBA, you have to do the contacts and reach out to everyone and take the time to actually set it up. So I think if we did take the time to do it, I think it could be a pretty special event.
Councilmember Bartoni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, personally, I'm completely in favor of this and think we do need to move forward. I don't think anybody has really thought of this as the WBA holiday tree lighting. This is the Wildwood holiday tree lighting. So, and if I remember correctly, the WBA kind of dropped the ball like very late in the game last year, and that could have, attributed to some of the, I guess, less than ideal things that we were doing. So maybe, we did kind of have a Charlie Brown tree last year, and maybe if we move forward now, we'll have a little bit better tree and a little bit better of a event for the residents. So I'm completely in favor of this. I would like to see us move forward, and I'll make a motion that we do move forward with the department's recommendation.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Councilmember Dodwell.
I'll make the second, but I have one question or comment to make is it possible to engage the businesses here locally to foot some of the bill for the tree, or, make some kind of contribution, or we set up some kind of, if you want to do a silver level, you can contribute this much, a gold level that much. And
Similar
then-
to what we did for Celebrate Wild.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Dodwell, yes, we could definitely reach out to them right now. And Travis, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have any obviously it wasn't our event, so we didn't have any special banners for this event. That would probably tie in how, it's a good selling point for Celebrate Wildwood. We have the banners up right now. They go down a little bit early, soon. But it would almost need to tie into something like that, where you would get your logo put on some kind of banner that's leading up to the plaza, or, I know Main Street and Taylor are more the central real estate. So I think if we're going to, sell a piece of the action, it would be obviously a tent. You could have a tent there, but there would have to be something on top of that. Say they're a business that doesn't want a tent because they don't sell, retail items, but they want to be a part of this and show support. I think there would need to be something that we can give them in return, which in that case.
Are we too far down to the due date in order to accomplish putting up Christmas banners?
Well, the thing is, this will have to get approved by council too, since it's gonna be like a city event now, and put on the schedule. So it's going to planning and parks and then city council after that, and obviously after. it gets-
Planning parks won't get it until after the city council meeting in October, which means it won't get started until November, which means no.
So we can plan it. That's the thing. We can definitely have it. It's gonna be the business part of getting banners for them. And it doesn't mean we
This year.
can't, well, it doesn't mean we can't reach out to them though and say, hey, we're having this event, and any in kind or also, cash donations would be greatly appreciated, and obviously we're gonna have to reach out to them anyways, because we'll have the opportunity for them to set up a booth. That's gonna be a big key too, and that's what makes it special. So I think there could be a very good possibility, especially in the SID area. I think those individuals might see the benefit of it.
We just have to plan ahead a little further next year.
This year, do apologize. This year, the WA, we
I'll
thought was
second the motion.
decent.
Let's, whatever we can accomplish, let's do it.
Perfect. Councilmember Roast.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of it. I guess a thought would be, and it's not necessarily, maybe a revenue generator for the city, but it might be a positive for the businesses, but like if there was some type of I'll just say a coupon book, some type of something that would hand out to participants that come to the event that later would say, 50 cents or 50% off, the place that did the wraps at Celebrate Wildwood. I don't remember their name, but I got their card. My wife liked them. But if there was coupons there or something that says, the people that show up, at some point, maybe over the next week or two, they would see an incentive to go visit one of these stores. Then all of a sudden, these businesses see the reason to participate. So, and again, that might be just a printing, you contact 20 or 30 businesses. It technically it costs them something, but if they generate some new customers, we generate some goodwill. I mean, that would be, I think, fairly simple to do.
Yeah.
And
With that,
Trying to figure out some way to engage the community to go to their businesses is what we need to do.
and they offer, discounts.
in that case, just some clarity there. So if we say, would this be for someone, a business that is just signing up for paying the fee for a booth, which we can charge for the
No,
booth?
I
But would
just
be,
think
this would
you
be like
just,
just a general.
Start dialing for, and get 20 or 30 people and, if it's, they sell pet food, see if they, 25% discount. I mean, just something that is going to be attractive enough to have that person maybe change their buying habit and, go left instead of right.
And that it ties in really well, Councilmember Bros, to the shop local, the event of the year, right after Thanksgiving. We could tie that in and potentially make it a Christmas coupon book or a holiday coupon book, and it's more of a shop local focus. Don't get it on Amazon, get it at Three French, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And during the Christmas time, people want to shop local. They want to give a little bit more to their local business community. So I think that's a cool idea. We could definitely follow up on that. So that would be open to every Wildwood business, regardless if they participate, or it would just be the participating businesses.
I think it's open to anybody. I mean, let's create an environment that maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, the businesses are coming to us saying, we had 75 people come by and get wraps and, a small business, they know their customers and they'll see it and feel it and they're presenting the coupon for it. But I mean, maybe what we have to gain by offsetting part of the 11 in cost is too narrow of a focus. Maybe the flip side is if the businesses gain a substantially more amount than that, and we don't, in the long run, we will gain too. They might expand their business, they might hire another person, not all those businesses, though, they may not even be located and live in Wildwood, they would locate when they have a place to live. So, and I think that would be something you could put it on the printer here and just
Yeah.
break it off,
I
it
think
doesn't have
so
to be
too.
fancy.
I agree with that, and I think we could definitely implement that piece into your end. So that would be very simple. So everyone we reach out to invite them to not only participate and have a booth, but also, do you want to contribute to the coupon book? Whatever you're able to provide, we'll print out for the residents. I mean, have it at the city table. Simple stack.
Or at your booth.
Yeah, if they participate, they can have it.
But I'm gonna make a suggestion that we're in October. Or very close to it. That information has to get out to them like next week. So that they can start planning. And
So
then-
Mr. Marshall has a comment.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. Mr. Marshall has a comment, and then we do have a motion and a second on the floor, so then we should follow up with a vote, but that doesn't necessarily mean we need to end the discussion. So.
I
Councilmember
guess
Marshall.
my question would be is, this is a tremendous amount of work to throw back on the city staff. And I can only tell you that in 3 or 4 years I was involved with it, where the business association just dropped the ball. And none of the business association members had any interest in selling or doing anything. Business is tough. I'm gonna be busy that night, whatever. So you're going into a thing where you really are like at the bottom. Because if they're gonna let the thing fall apart, a lot of that is because they all felt that they couldn't depend on each other helping do those different things. I know it was a couple of years ago, we'll take care of the tree and everything, and they didn't even do it. And then it's a city saying this is gonna be embarrassing. And then everybody's out there trying to jump in and do what it is. So it's just a ton of work with a really short window. And then the other thing that always is frustrating is it happens to be a cold night, putting tents out there, putting heaters out there. So I mean, you got a lot of risk in trying to do it, but being able to pull it off with not having the business, even what the business association did, the few that were helpful. I mean, that'd be the best place to start, but that's a lot of work on your team to get it on the deadline in order to do it. So I'm not opposed to it. I just think that it's a challenge after they've kind of dropped the ball 2 or 3 years and the city's had to pull it out. So.
Well,
Councilmember Dodwell.
I understand the negative parts of that, but that's because we were depending upon other people to lead, guide, and direct that. We know how to put on a party. We just put one on this past weekend. And I don't think it's gonna be as difficult if we're driving the bus versus expecting an organization that's having trouble even staying coalesced with each other to put it together. So.
I just don't think it's that easy. I don't disagree.
I
with
didn't
you.
say it
Yeah.
was easy. I didn't say it was easy, but I feel like we've got pros on how to put events together. They've done it so many times throughout the year. My other statement was going to be, can we get the farmers market folks involved so that, I don't know, do they even help set up their tents? Do they help set up their locations when we're putting that stuff up? I don't know.
So what I'm going to do is suggest that since we already have a motion to proceed with this and we have a second, that we go ahead and hold our vote.
I was gonna say Travis had an item to speak to on the market.
You proceed with the vote and then I'll have a comment. if that's
All
okay.
right. Yeah, so all those in favor of proceeding as we have received the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
And then really quick comment before you hop on.
Sure.
Was that with the heaters, we actually didn't provide heaters last year and we were fine.
No, 2 years ago or so.
Yeah,
And
it
it
cost
was-
like $3,000, so we don't run the electric out this time because it's just where it's at. It costs about $3K to get that out there.
This was several years ago too. I mean, we used to think the Y, and it just seems like it was always the coldest night ever.
It was a cold event. I think, a lot of people were happy to see it, but yes, that part would put it over. the
Kids
top.
didn't like coloring when it was that cold.
Yeah.
They wouldn't eat the crayons.
So, Mr. Chair, with your permission, I just want to make a comment to Ms. Dodwell's question about the farmer's market manager. Ms. McAvoy is under contract from January 1 to December 31. And she has assisted us with the tree lighting event before and coordinating vendors who may be interested in participating and just coordinating those communications. So she has been involved before and I have no reason to believe she wouldn't be willing to contribute this year if we move forward with this.
So that being said too, we do have something at a benefit here is that Santa, we've used the same Santa over the last couple of years. He's on phone, he's ready to go. We haven't signed anything, but he is available for this. And the carolers I've been told are available if we need to mic them up, that's the key. But then the other piece is it's really the labor of setting up the tents and getting everything and actually reaching out to the business community and finding a good tree. That is the biggest paramount. But luckily we have all those contacts on the Rolodex, if you will, and they're able to pretty quickly, I think we could get this done if we start getting it out to the business community, start.
What's the date?
it would be December, is that Saturday, first Saturday in December? December 2nd.
All right, thank you. Next up, not ready for action, update to the economic development guide.
Nothing or
New hire, then we get that.
Miscellaneous item. Anyone with miscellaneous items? So the only thing I will mention under miscellaneous items, since I think it fits under this category, is I did talk to Miss Veggie, Celebrate Wildwood. She is talking with a number of members of the Wildwood business community. They have some ideas at this point in time for how they would like to come up with a new version of the WBA. Probably gonna be a little further down the road before they're able to put their strategic plan in place, but they do want to do something and keep something going in the community. So we'll just stay open to whatever ideas they come up with and we'll help however we can. Next meeting date, October 10th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. And that brings us to adjournment. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Marshall, seconded by Councilmember Brost. Non-debatable. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Good discussion tonight. Good input from everyone.
thank you.